Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome back to more haunted stuff and spooky stuff. And welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. Anyway, it is time for another ghost train story. Another ghost train story to put on the travel channel. So the episode, it is time for another story, of Ghost Train, and that, hopefully this one can be an episode on the travel channel, So, this one is called The Phantom Locomotive number 110. The Phantom Locomotive number 110. And this takes place back in 1881. And it takes place in Alsdern, Alderson, I can't say it. It takes place in West Virginia, and Alderson, Alderson, West Virginia. There you go. It takes place in Alston, West Virginia. So. And the story is called The Phantom Locomotive number 110. So here we go. The Phantom Locomotive 110. One of the most spectacular train wrecks to occur near Alderson, West Virginia, took place at Maher's Curve, about a mile below town, at 1 o'clock in the morning. October 4th, 1881, when engine number 110 met engine number 112 head on. Both were pulling freights. Number 110 had a light train and was moving at about 35 miles per hour, while number 112 had a long train and was going about 20 miles per hour. The two approached unawares until they were upon each other because of the sharp curve at Maher. When the train crews realized their plight, it was too late, but the engineer and firemen on the eastbound number 112 train jumped and saved themselves. The engineer and firemen of the westbound train both met death in the ensuing catalysm of fire and steam. On the westbound, the brakeman Lee Hill, son of Spencer Hill, of Alston, was severely injured and eventually lost both legs, and every man on both train crews was injured to some degree. The impact was so terrific that both locomotives were completely destroyed and cars were piled up to a height of 50 feet and spread over several hundred yards of the right of way. Some of the train men were thrown through the air 50 feet by the jolt of impact, only to get up practically unharmed. Doctors Barksdale and Spicer of Alston attended to the dead and wounded. Excuse me, I was and a large group of men from town came out to help extricate whatever Lee Hill from under a box car where he was pinned. To get to him, it was necessary to move a stack of 500 cross ties, which were piled on the right-of-way between these and the car. He was trapped. As rescuers struggled to free him, he alternately prayed and cursed until he was free. By morning, the wrecker from Hinton arrived with a crew and cleared the tracks. The wrecker from excuse me, I'm sorry. The hulks of the engines were taken back to Hinton, and most of the cars broken up and burned, as indeed some had already been reduced to matchwood. The wreck was blamed on the night operator in the tower at Alston, Alderson, who failed to hold the westbound train until the eastbound had passed. A most unusual story is connected with this wreck. It was often told by Mr. J.H. Hoover of Alderson. It seemed that he was head brakeman on the eastbound freight pulled by number 112 and was sitting astop one of the cars well back in the train. It was a beautiful moonlit night, and I could watch the scenery flow by. As we went up the long straight stretch above Riffy's Crossing, I looked across the bottom, and there stood a locomotive out there where there were no tracks and where no engine could be. It stood clearly and plainly visible. The headlight was burning, and the figures on the side were plain 110. Upon seeing this phantom locomotive, Mr. Hoover made his way to the engine and mentioned it to the engineer and fireman. He thought it was a warning. Presently, he saw the gleam of an approaching headlight on the rails ahead as they ran into Mulhurst Curve. Mollier's curve, and then he jumped. I rolled down the embankment like a bear, and then heard the awful smashing and grinding as the two trains smashed into each other. Presently, I was able to walk up to the place, and there were the two engines reared into the air, just like two dogs standing on hind legs fighting. He felt he already knew the number of the westbound engine, and sure, when he looked, it was number 110. Then I quit railroading. Mr. Hoover's story can be considered a dream or just a fantasy made up to amuse or frighten. But he was not a man to do such things. He was a learned man and not giving to superstitious feelings. He saw that phantom locomotive that night, and the experience made him quit railroading for good. He certainly was one of the most, and it is certainly one of the most interesting stories ever told about any wreck on the C&O. This information was supplied by Mr. J.B. Swoop of Kimberly, WVA. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so going back to the beginning, so it turns out, it turns out when he saw the number 110 engine met engine number 112 head on. Both were pulling freights. Number 110 had a light train and was moving at about 35 miles per hour, while number 112 had a long train and was going about 20 miles per hour. The two approached unawares until they were upon each other because of the sharp curve at Malheur. When the train crews realized that their plight, it was too late. But the engineer on the eastbound number 112 train jumped and saved themselves. On number 112, the engine that crashed was 110, and then over here it says over here it says Spencer Hill of Adderson was severely injured and eventually lost both legs, and every man on both train crews was injured to some degree. The impact was so terrific, and that both locomotives were completely destroyed, and cars were piled up to height of 50 feet and spread over several spread over several hundred yards of the right of way. Some of the trainmen were thrown through the air 50 feet by the jolt of impact, only to get up practically unharmed. Doctors Bardsdale and Spicer of Atherton attended to the dead and wounded, and a large group of men from town came out to help. It, Lee Hill from a boxcar where he was pinned. Extricate Lee Hill from under a boxcar. So he was pinned down when the locomotive was crashed and stuff like that. He was pinned down. So to get to him, it was necessary to move a stack of 500 cross ties, which were piled of the right-of-way between these and the car. He was trapped. As the rescuers struggled to free him, he alternately prayed and cursed until he was free. By morning, the wrecker from Hitton arrived with a crew and cleared the tracks. The hulks of the engines were taken back to Hitton, and most of the cars broken up and burned. As indeed some had already been reduced to matchwood. The wreck was blamed on the night operator in the tower at Atherton, who failed to hold the westbound train until the eastbound had passed. So anyway, a most unusual story is connected to, and then over here it says a most unusual story is connected with this wreck. It was often told by Mr. J. H. Hoover of Atherton. It seemed that he was head brakeman on the eastbound freight pulled by number 112 and was sitting astop one of the cars well back in the train. It was a beautiful moonlit night, and I could watch the scenery flow by, and as we went up the long straight stretch above Riffy's Crossing, I looked across the bottom, and there stood a locomotive. So he saw a locomotive standing, which might have been so he saw it. There stood a locomotive out there where there were no tracks and where no engine could be. It stood clearly and plain visible. The headlight was burning, and the figures on the side were plain. 110. So he had seen the phantom locomotive after it crashed. He saw the ghost train. He saw the ghost train. He saw the ghost train. He saw the ghost train of the locomotive. Upon seeing this phantom locomotive, Mr. Hoover made his way to the engine and mentioned it to the engineer and fireman. He thought it was a warning. Presently, he saw the gleam of an approaching headlight on the rails ahead. as they ran as they ran into Maher's curve, and then he jumped. I rolled down the embankment like a bear, and then heard the awful smashing and grinding sounds as the two trains smashed into each other. Presently, I was able to walk up to the place, and there were the two engines reared into the air, like two dogs standing on hind legs fighting. He felt he already knew the number of the westbound engine, and sure enough, when he looked, it was number 110. It was number 110. It was number 110. And then I quit railroading. Then I quit railroading. So yeah, he had seen the Phantom locomotive. He had seen the Phantom locomotive. He had seen the Phantom locomotive and was back in was back in the train was back in the train and he had seen it go up into the air. He had seen it go up into the air, and it was about it was a moonlit night. It was a moonlit night. It was a moonlit night. It was a moonlit night, and it was a moonlit night, and it's it was a moonlit night. It was a moonlit night, and I could watch the scenery flow by. So yeah. So anyway, when I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the example from Haunted Hotels right now. So when you put this on the Travel Channel, be sure you put the Phantom locomotive number 110. Be sure you put the Phantom locomotive number 110 and so forth. Okay, all right. So when you put this on the Travel Channel, be sure you put the Phantom locomotive number 110. Okay, so okay. Thank you. All right. So now. I hope you guys enjoyed that story and enjoyed that. I'm going to do an example from the previous TV show, Haunted Hotels, and it will give you an idea, and it's going to give you an example of how ghost trains should look like on the Travel Channel. Okay, so here's Haunted Hotels.
No one knows why hotels are said to attract ghosts, but according to legends and the stories of staff and guests, they do. The haunting tales passed along from guest to guest tell of spirits who have struggled from beyond the grave to right some wrong. There are also those with unanswered questions.
Most perceive them as a sudden cold or a chill that races down the back.
Those with unfinished business.
Some feel it when the hair literally stands up on the back of their neck.
And those for whom death came too soon.
It's a cold that people describe as going straight to the bone.
Late at night, in strange hotel rooms, lost souls are said to be reawakened, and anything is possible. Haunted hotels are full of legends. Part of the fun of spending the night in a ghostly castle or haunted inn is hearing a tale sure to make you leave the lights on. But behind every hotel ghost story is a ghost.
Many are tragic. I've actually heard of very few happy ghosts, very few of singing children.
Hotels said to have ghosts often retain memories of unhappy events.
You've got the unfinished business, you've got the violence, you've got the emotion, all right there. And so it's no wonder that they're haunted.
California's Hotel del Coronado has been a popular place to get away since 1888. So why is it that after just one night, some guests want to flee?
I don't know if I would ever, in fact, I know I would never stay in that room again.
Over the years, the resort has attracted movie stars and heads of state and has been the backdrop for films, commercials, and TV dramas. One of Del's most glamorous guests was Marilyn Monroe, who was here to film Some Like It Hot in 1958. Luminaries find the hotel's island setting hard to resist.
The Hotel Del is beautifully situated right across the bay from San Diego. We have a beautiful stretch of pristine beach, which was pretty much set aside by the men who built the hotel.
Another key to the seaside hideaway's popularity is its oddly intriguing design.
The hotel's architecture is Queen Anne Revival, which is characterized by a very asymmetrical design, lots of turrets, lots of dormers, lots of towers.
But the architecture is hardly the most unusual thing about Hotel del Coronado. It all started over a century ago with the arrival of a mysterious guest.
She came in 1892. She arrived on November 24th, which was actually Thanksgiving evening that year. She checked in alone, which was rather unusual. She did not have luggage.
Signing her name as Lottie Bernard, the woman checked into what is now room 3327.
As soon as she arrived, she drew attention. They said she was acting a little erratically, seemed very unhappy, distraught. She spent a lot of time in her room.
One thing about the secretive guest was evident. She seemed to be very ill.
She was in great pain. She told everyone she had stomach cancer.
But all that she would accept from the concerned hotel staff was a little whiskey.
She was truly sick, but any overture by the hotel to help her see a doctor, she rebuffed. From the day she arrived, she told everybody that her brother was a doctor, so she said, and that he would be joining her, and not to worry because it would all be taken care of when her brother got here. And every day she would go down to the front desk and say, have you heard from my brother? Is there any word at all? And there never was.
Finally, on a moonlit night, the lonely young woman found an end to her pain.
Five days after she arrived here, she was found outside on the beach. She had a single gunshot wound to her head, which the coroner later determined was self-inflicted.
All she left behind was a mystery.
That's just where the story started. When they got to her room, there was nothing of a personal nature there. She didn't have luggage. She didn't have any papers. There was nothing to identify her except by the name she checked in under, which was Lottie Bernard, which was an alias.
The unknown guest became famous before anyone even knew her name.
For a long time, she was referred to just as the beautiful stranger because no one knew who she was. So they actually sketched a picture of her face. They sent it around to newspapers around the country, and eventually someone came forward identifying her as Kate Morgan from Iowa. She was buried here in San Diego rather unceremoniously, very sadly, just this lone 24-year-old suicide victim.
Kate left the world a lonely soul, but many feel she has never left the Hotel del Coronado. Hotel del Coronado, room 3327, where a young woman, Kate Morgan, spent her last days on Earth. Guests Jennifer and Richard Rodriguez were unaware of the room's past when they arrived.
We checked in, went to our hotel room, and kind of settled in.
There was a ceiling fan that came down from the ceiling, and it had tassels that you would pull to turn the light on or off. And out of the corner of my eye, I could see that the tassels started moving in a circular motion, so I thought it was kind of odd.
But it wasn't until after the lights went out that her husband experienced something that defied all reason.
Probably about 2:30 in the morning, I felt somewhat of a tug on my blankets, and at the foot of the bed was a human being pulling the blankets over their head. And I closed my eyes, and when I opened my eyes back up again, it was gone. Then I heard a voice calling my name, just asking me to come over to the peephole. I looked outside. Oh, Richard, come to the peephole. Come to the peephole, Richard. I stayed up for the rest of the night.
I woke up in the morning, and he was sitting up, just staring ahead, and he said, did you see that last night? The bell gentleman came up. The first thing he said to us when he walked in the room was, how was it to sleep in the haunted room?
Strange things have been said to happen in Kate's room, even in broad daylight.
I would not want to stay in that room because I have talked to enough people that I believe that things do go on there, and I really wouldn't enjoy experiencing any of them.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop right there. I'm gonna go ahead and stop right there because my video's getting too long. But anyway, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop right there. So did you see of how the story went back in time, and the apparition and the ghosts appearing on the screen? Well, anyway, anyway, that is what the Phantom Locomotive of number 110 story has to do. That is what the Phantom Locomotive number 110 has to do on the episode of Ghost Train. And that is what the Phantom Locomotive number 110 has to do. So when you guys put Ghost Train on the Travel Channel, please be sure you make it look like haunted hotels. Make it look like what it had in haunted hotels, and let the story go back in time to 1881 on October 4th, 1881, and let the Phantom Locomotive be shown, and let the story go back in time, and also let the apparitions of the spirits and the ghosts be shown on the Travel Channel too. Okay, all right. So it the Phantom Locomotive, the Phantom Locomotive number 110 has to be on the Travel Channel. So just put the episode on there. Just put the episode on there. Okay, all right. And the Phantom Locomotive number 110, let the apparitions be shown, let the spirits and the ghosts be shown, and let the story go back in time to 1881. Okay, for the Phantom Locomotive. Okay, all right. So I hope you guys enjoyed that story and enjoyed this video. Give this video a thumbs up. This will be on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. And I will see you guys later for the next Ghost Train story, okay? Okay, bye everybody. Bye.